What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the WTW podcast with Superspan and Golden Arms 36, aka Julian. Today we've got a special video. It is about the era that is very near and dear to our hearts. You guys might remember it. We certainly do. The 2010s. So from 2010 to 2019, 2020 seasons, we're going to be breaking down basically the most exciting bullet points that happen from each year. This is part one. So I wanted to start off with sort of an honorable mention because it technically was in the 2009, 2010 season. And that was Kobe and the Lakers winning Kobe's final championship versus the Celtics in 7 games. I mean, that especially in retrospect was awesome. I mean, it's just crazy to think that that was Kobe's last championship, and and of course it was against the Celtics again. But I mean, you go from 2008 losing to them, and then winning against the Magic. It was the next year, right? And
Yes.
then beating the Celtics, getting his revenge on them. That must have been just, I mean, obviously, like, it's Kobe Bryant. He's going to be thinking about that for years to come. That must have been like the sweetest revenge for him.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, it had to been. Because, man, like you said, he went up against him in the '08 season, got knocked out of that finals, came back, won his first championship without Shaq, and then he got his revenge against the Celtics. No better way for a storybook ending to his prime. Because after that, like he was still really productive, but they couldn't get over the hump in terms of like with playoff success,
Yeah,
especially when Phil Jackson left. It was pretty much over with after that.
right. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about their later attempts to form a better team, a super team. A little bit of
Yep.
foreshadowing. You guys probably already know what we're talking about.
Yep.
But let's get into the first season, 2010-11 season. First thing that you're probably not surprised that we are going to talk about is LeBron, Bosh, and Wade teaming up in Miami, but almost coming to our beloved Chicago Bulls. There were rumors flying around. I remember my dad saying that LeBron was looking for homes in Illinois, and I was
Mhm.
just freaking out. I was a huge LeBron fan at the time. And I mean, this was the biggest free agency in recent history, maybe all time. LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. Didn't Bosh almost come here, or am I wrong?
Yeah, he almost came here. He almost went to Chicago. He was the sure thing until the opportunity to go to Miami to team up with Wade and LeBron came up. I mean, who wouldn't pass that up as a player, you
Yeah,
know?
right. I mean, we almost had Wade, we almost had Bron, we almost had I mean, we talk about this all the time. The starting lineup would have just been absolutely bonkers. D Rose, Wade, LeBron, Bosh, and Joakim Noah. I mean, like who's gonna stop that?
And then
Like,
Coach Thibodeau
right.
right there, you would a prime LeBron James and a like sort of prime D Wade, he could still go on defense.
That
But
was still prime D
yeesh,
Wade, yeah.
like
Like,
that would have been disgusting just in that defensive scheme with that kind of talent.
yeah.
Man, that would have been sick.
It was just it's one of the more memorable moments in my lifetime of being a basketball fan. Like, I remember I had a Cavs LeBron jersey and I drew the Bulls logo, or Bulls lettering on a piece of
Yeah,
paper and
yeah.
taped it on my jersey, and wore it around my neighborhood and stuff the day of the decision.
Oh
And
man.
I was so excited, and then I was watching that live, as were everybody else, every other basketball fan. And then when he said South Beach, I was like, I was just
Ah,
crushed. I mean, but it wouldn't have been the same if who knows, like, the battles against Miami and the Big Three as Bulls fans. You can't really trade that for the world. Like, that was awesome. Like, I'm
yeah,
not
those
gonna
were
lie.
intense. Those were
It was
intense
it
battles
was
for
cool.
sure.
And the rivalry between not only just the teams themselves, but specifically Joakim and LeBron was hilarious.
It
It
all
was
started in
just so
2010
funny.
in the 2010 playoff. That's where it started, and it just got even more heated with the heat. No pun intended on that.
Yeah, right. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, which, you know, near and dear to our hearts, is Derrick Rose winning the MVP award, becoming the youngest MVP ever to do so at 22 years and 191 days. And in doing so, leading the Bulls to an NBA best 62-20 record. I mean, like, it's hard not to look back at those memories incredibly fondly. Like, Derrick Rose is a big reason why I'm even into basketball in the first place. Um, I just remember sitting in my room and watching the Bulls games late at night and like hearing the chants of MVP, 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 and knowing that that was a possibility, and just having like a sense of pride as a fan, like, oh my god, this guy's on my favorite team from Chicago. Like, and it's just like the things that he was doing, you can't compare it to anybody else. You can say what you want, Russell Westbrook, John Morant. They weren't doing the stuff that Derek was doing. They're great players, but Derek was just like on another level overall.
Man, it was very validating for me personally because I saw D Rose in high school because my history teacher was watching the Illinois basketball playoffs, and he was in that city championship. And I watched him. Then I saw the national championship game, which he lost, but whatever. He showed out that game. Then the Bulls drafted him because you got to remember around that time it was the Baby Bulls era, but we sucked. That's why we got D Rose to begin with. But I told everyone and especially my brother because he was like big Jordan head back in the day, and I told him like, dude, watch this kid. He's gonna electrify Chicago. He is gonna bring them back to the playoffs or whatever. And it
Mhm.
was so validating because I was like, just being right. He became rookie of the year, became an all star the following season, and then for him to get the MVP, like it kind of it, it kind of annoyed me a little bit with like the bandwagon Bulls fans because like
Yeah.
you guys didn't even know he was on the team before this season. And the last
Mhm.
two seasons they went 500, so nobody was really paying attention to the Bulls. Like, like I love the fact that Bulls fans are loyal, but at the same time is like, man, where were you when he was an MVP, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
a lot of them left when he you know, we'll talk about that in the next segment, but
Yeah.
a lot of them left though. A lot of them left after that. Like,
Yeah. And
and
look
then
at
they
Cubs
come
fans.
that prime example right there because
Like,
they all came out of the woodwork in 2016. Trust me, I know because
me too.
we
Yeah.
we fucking as a White Sox fan we held on to the '05 World Series because you guys didn't win for 100 years.
Oh, really? Oh, is that what happened?
But we can't hold that now. We can't say that anymore until we win another one. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, dude. The next thing that really changed like the landscape of the NBA was Melo getting traded from Denver to the New York Knicks.
Which was a dumb move, in my opinion. I know he wanted the money, but bruh, like they they traded most of that roster for him when he could have just signed them outright, just left the Nuggets in free
Yeah.
agency. But
Yeah.
the lockout was going to happen later that year anyway, so he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna take the money instead." But in
Yeah.
hindsight, he should just walked. He should just went to the. He should just left in free agency in hindsight. But
It is
yeah,
absolutely crazy.
but it changed the landscape because now like you have essentially like superstar players now asking out for as the norm. But back then, it was crazy to see a player of Carmelo's caliber to be traded. It was
Right.
mid-season, and then literally, I think it was either a week or a week after Melo was traded. Darren Williams was traded from Utah to New Jersey,
Hmm.
which was another big deal because he was leaving anyways. So
Yeah.
like it was like you said, it that legitimately changed the landscape of the NBA only because like now your star play like you got to keep your star player happy. That was my fear. Like before the Derrick Rose injuries, my fear was like, all right, we got our best player. Now, how long until he asks out because we can't go to
Right.
the contender? You know, that was my fear, and then that happened. But that I was thinking like, holy crap, we have a really good player, but I see all the other good players asking out. Well,
Yeah.
D Rose ask out.
Right. And like honestly, that's I mean, it's no surprise that Derrick Rose tore his ACL, so we don't but I say that because it's gonna be the next but
Yeah,
regardless,
yeah,
that's one of the things that's sort of like kind of calming about that whole situation is that we never really had to deal with the pain of Derek almost taking us to the promised land year in and year out, and then eventually being like, "Yeah, I want out, trade me." Like, luckily,
right.
we never had to really deal with that. And that's
But
like a silver lining.
can you imagine though, man? That would have been so heartbreaking. Like just to feel that
Yeah,
way. It's like at that point, like what would Reinsdorf would do? Like would he have chose Garpax over D Rose or D Rose over Garpax at that point? Guarantee he would
I
have
feel
chose
like he would have.
Garpax.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he would have chose them for sure,
Yeah, it's sad.
no
It's just
doubt.
sad. It's just sad.
Yeah. On to the playoffs for this year.
Oh
I
man.
mean, it was a crazy playoffs. Like LeBron beat the Boston Big Three for the first time in his career. He advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Bulls. The Mavs swept the Lakers, which was wild a year after the Lakers winning the championship. And then Dallas beating Miami. I honestly could say I didn't see that coming. I don't know about you or a lot of other people. I'm sure not
You
a
know
lot of
what?
other people saw that coming.
You know what? I was on some F the Heat mode because they just
Yeah, me
beat us in
too.
the
Yeah.
conference finals. So I was like, it's a long shot, but I want the Mavericks to win. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it surprised the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It surprised the hell out of me. That was the
Yeah. It
like
surprised me too. Yeah.
it's crazy because Dirk just went on a one man wrecking crew.
Yeah.
He destroyed the Thunder and then he destroyed the Lakers. Dude, the Thunder one was just epic, dude. That was probably the most masterful game I've ever seen in my life. The masterful playoffs. Like other than his finals run, that Thunder series is underrated in my opinion because nobody really brings it up. Like he fucking torched Harden, Durant, and Westbrook. You know
Yeah.
that, and they were
Like
young. It was
virtually by
the young
himself.
version, virtually by himself. I mean, he has shooters, which is like
Yeah.
it's always great to have shooters because they're gonna make them for you, obviously. But this man, they were like, whoo, he went through Kobe, Durant, and LeBron
Yeah.
in one playoff run. Like probably the only other one I can probably like match that to is Jokic from this playoffs. You know,
Yeah. Right. Exact. Honestly.
in terms of that kind of, like a European player going on a crazy run like that. I think Jokic and Dirk are like 1 and 2 in terms of like playoff runs like that. Maybe Jokic just by slightly a little bit.
Yeah. So obviously Dirk got finals MVP averages of 26, 10, and 2. We just talked about it. He absolutely monster playoff, just playoffs in general for him. He was so much fun to watch and so graceful, such a phenomenal shooter. And not even just for a big man, just in general. He was just truly like a generational type talent. But the next season is the infamous lockout season. The 2011-12 NBA season was shortened to 66 games. And when they resumed, Chris Paul was traded to the Clippers after the deal to the Lakers was vetoed by the NBA, which is another conspiracy for another possible video. Who knows? Probably not because there's a million of those. But in that happening, Lob City was born. I mean, we all have our memories of Lob City. They didn't really pan out too well. They never got past the second round, but they honestly were a fun group to watch. I was a huge fan of Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. I thought they were super fun to watch.
That was my squad on 2K.
Right? Yeah, I
on the
feel like a
night
lot of people.
on the nights in with the boys, it'd be either the Clippers, Thunder, Heat, or the Lakers as like
No
everyone's
Bulls?
team. Oh, I mean like Bulls, yeah, but like a lot. I don't know why a lot of people chose
Come on now.
a
You
lot.
have D Rose and Corver. And
All those teams were chosen over the Bulls. Believe it or not.
yeah, that
Which
makes
hey,
sense.
whatever.
But
I
like
mean, yeah,
I would use the Bulls. I still use the Bulls to this day because I mean, Bulls fan. But
yeah.
dude, Corver's jump shot in those early 2K, I mean even now, but like I I feel like even more so back then, his jump shot was like impossible to miss. Like impossible. It was so great.
It was
But
automatic.
yeah, dude, I'll never forget when I was at like a family photo shoot when the news broke out that Paul was traded to the Lakers and then quickly it was vetoed. And then he got traded to the Clippers, as we just mentioned. The next topic there would be Bobcats winning a historically low 7 games. Granted, it was in a shortened season. However, I feel like they wouldn't have won much more if it were a full 82 game season. I mean, that squad was just, and they didn't even get the first pick. That right? They
That's
got the two
that's
pick.
messed up. Yeah, they went all through all that losing, and they only get number two. You know.
And who did they pick?
Oh man,
You know.
Michael Kidd Gilchrist, dude.
Yep.
The
But
guy who shoots like this. The guy
he
who
kind of
shoots like this and then he goes that way.
it
What
like
the
God, and I remember playing with him in 2K and like obviously he couldn't
what
shoot
did
in the game
what did
either,
he
but
do? Like what did he actually do?
in
Like
the
what
game in
no
2K he was
in general, like what did he
nothing.
do
He
that
was a
made him good?
defender. He was a defender. That's it. And then
He got picked over
nothing
who?
else.
He got picked over who?
Oh God. I'm gonna have to
Damian
check.
Lillard. Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard. I remember now.
Hold on.
Damian Lillard
What
was
was
in
that?
that
The
draft.
2011 or
2012.
2012?
2012 draft. Oh my God.
Let me see. I know, yeah, you're right about Damian Lillard. I know that.
I mean,
Bradley Beal was the
Bradley
next
Beal went
pick.
third. Could have got Bradley Beal. Him and
I
Kemba
mean,
Walker would
even
have been
Waiters
nice.
would have been a better pick, but not much better. Harrison Barnes, Drummond, these are just the notable guys.
Way
Uh
better than Gilchrist for sure.
oh yeah. I mean, Tomas Satoransky was drafted in 2012. Wow. Draymond Green, I
See,
mean,
even
that's
he's
these are all
better.
second rounders though. Chris Middleton, second
Marcus
rounder.
Teague is better than Harris, and then Michael Kidd Gilchrist.
All right, come on now. Come on now. I wouldn't go there. I mean, that's not much worse, but it's also not much better. I think they're like sort of like hand in hand, you know? Uh Evan Fournier. I mean, but like there's no way like the guys that realistically could have been taken and obviously should, all those guys I mentioned were better than Kid Gilchrist, but I'm saying like Bradley Beal, oh my God.
Definitely.
Damian
They
Lillard, holy crap. Like
yeah.
it's just insane. But yeah, dude, I was
And
a
what's
huge Kid Gilchrist fan.
what makes it worse though? What makes it worse is the Damian Lillard pick was the Brooklyn Nets pick, and they gave that up for the in the Gerald Wallace trade.
Wait, repeat
They
that?
they traded Portland trade who was it? Brooklyn traded their first round pick to Gerald Wallace and some other players, and that pick turned into Damian Lillard.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, they screwed up.
nice little nugget there for that 2012 draft. But anyways, we went a little ahead on that season, didn't we? We haven't even talked about what like after what happened on Christmas. There was Derrick Rose's game-winning shot against Kobe Bryant and the
Yeah.
Lakers. What an
Oh
epic
my
freaking game,
gosh.
bro! I just remember waking up that morning. I was like, all right, I'm ready for the Christmas Day games. Let's go. Then when the Bulls game started, it was a 3:30 game. Dude, the Bulls game started. I was just pumped, bro. Like that was a great game. Like that could
Yeah.
have potential. They were hyping it up as like a potential finals matchup, and that would have been
Oh,
sick. That would have been a nice fucking matchup. The Bulls
oh
Lakers
man.
20, man, that would have been nice.
Can I just say something real quick? how depressing is it to even like utter those words? Oh, Bulls were once considered a championship contender again, or a championship matchup against this team. Like you're not going to
Yeah,
hear that
yeah.
nowadays.
You know where I heard that first? The prior season, the 2010-11, when Derrick Rose's MVP season. It was the Bulls and the Spurs because they were both the number one seed in their respective conferences. The only difference is that the Bulls actually made it to their conference finals, and the Spurs
Yeah.
got knocked out in the first round against the 8th seed. But yeah.
uh,
Anyways,
the Spurs. Yeah, dude, I'll never forget that shot against the Lakers. It was over Gasol,
oh
right?
man,
Was it
yo,
over Gasol?
he crossed Derek Fisher over, then like did like a hop step,
Yeah, and then a floater.
then a floater over Gasol, and I think over Lamar Odom or maybe Kobe Bryant. I don't remember, but it was definitely over Gasol. Wow,
Yeah,
man, 1 point
dude.
lead, and then Luol Deng with the most clutchest block in the world.
Yeah,
He blocks Kobe Bryant. Boom, ball game. Get the win in L.A.
yeah. Oh my God, I'll never forget that. And then of course that year, people argue that this should have been LeBron's second consecutive year winning MVP, but he won the 2011-12 MVP. Yay, woo, whatever.
I mean, well
Uh,
deserved. He played all in all of the games. D Rose was
I don't
consistently hurt
care.
that season.
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, real like leading up to that. Okay, let's just get right down to it. Leading up to that game one and for the Bulls Philly game, D Rose was consistently in and out of the lineup. People like to forget that because they're like, oh, Tip should have never left him in the game that long, which he shouldn't. Granted, yes, you're right, he shouldn't. But also, like he had all these nagging injuries throughout that whole season. Dude, I remember John Lucas the third playing a lot more games than Derrick Rose that year. But when Derrick
Yeah.
Rose played, he was killing him. He was killing him. I remember one game in particular against Philly, ironically enough. It was an ESPN game. D Rose drops 36 points, but like the most efficient 36 points ever. There was one play where he's like on the fast break. Elton Brand's right behind him, and surprisingly, he's like kind of keeping up with him. But then he just turns on an extra gear. Bow! He just starts running like the Flash.
Yeah.
Layup. That was the sickest I've ever seen D Rose look. Like he looked like himself that whole 2011, 2012 lockout shortened season.
Oh
But
yeah.
to me, were those nagging injuries leading up to his torn ACL was just that short. That's just that whole lockout season in general. You had teams playing three games in 3 nights, 5 and 4
Yeah.
nights. Yeah, they were. It was brutal. Like a lot of teams had injured players by the start of the playoffs,
Well, yeah.
which was
Yeah.
like it was just. That's why, like, I mean, to me, I think like if we would have had a full season, like a full like regular season, I think the Bulls it would have been a conference finals rematch between Bulls and Heat for
Yeah.
sure.
Who knows?
That's
That
it
could
would
have
have been part of that.
yeah, that could have changed the course of the Bulls,
And the
future.
Heat because I remember hearing podcasts like just talking about that season that had the Heat not like won it that year, they were going to trade Bosch and like retool the team around LeBron and Wade. So like, yeah, that would have been crazy because if the Bulls would have defeated them in the rematch, it would have meant a championship probably for the Bulls because they would have handled the Thunder. I feel like they could have.
I
They
think
would have
so.
they would have gotten number 7 while also dismantling the Heat in the process.
Yeah.
Uh, Like your shirt says, what if?
Yeah, right? That's a good
What
show.
if?
Um but yeah, as we know as Bulls fans, pain is inevitable.
Yeah.
And obviously Philly went on to beat us 4-2 in that series. And LeBron wins his first ever NBA title versus the Thunder. I mean, as much as we don't like LeBron as Bulls fans, that was kind of cool. Like it still hurt because I mean we could have been there. We that easily could have been us. But I mean it's a historical moment. I mean all the jokes, of LeBron not having a ring or whatever, they all went away.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound like a LeBron fan. I'm just saying, it was a pretty monumental moment in NBA history.
My thing
Uh,
is just the respect thing. Like because the Bulls were contenders then, I looked at the Heat as like, all right, we got to get past the Heat in order for us
yeah,
to win a championship type
no
thing. So
doubt.
it's more of a sort of like a competitive thing. It's like, man, I don't like you because you're holding back our team, but at the end of the day, he's a great player. He's one of the greats, and to see the greats finally get, it's very cool to see. Very cool to see, especially since I was a LeBron fan in his first 7 years in Cleveland, and it was just really cool to see that journey finally. Like, I mean, granted, he had to do it with a different team, but
Yeah,
it was just really cool to see like the journey from high school phenom to NBA champion.
right. And then next up is the 2012-13 season. In the offseason, James Harden was traded from Oklahoma City to the Rockets, which began a new era in Houston. Dwight Howard traded to the Lakers, and Steve Nash signs with them as well to form probably the second most disappointing super team in NBA history. We'll get
Yeah.
to the first in a little bit. LeBron won his back-to-back MVPs. People might say that should have been his third straight, but haha, Derrick Rose won in 2010-11, so suck it. And then this was sort of the emergence of the Golden State Warriors. They make the playoffs 47-35 and get the sixth seed. I mean, that was sort of just a brief summary before we get to the playoffs there. Just James Harden going to the Rockets was huge. I was a huge Harden fan. Farden. Uh, huge James Harden fan. I still like him, but it's just not the same. He was a beast in Houston. Dwight Howard traded to the Lakers was hilarious. It was cool at the
Hilarious.
time. It was
Yeah.
cool at the time, but it's
What
like
a
just
what drama though. What drama
like
that whole thing. He's like, "Oh, I'm committed to Orlando." Oh, trade me. Like literally 2 months later.
yeah,
It's like what what yeah. And then just the whole Steve Nash thing, it's like, dude, he was already breaking down by the time his time with Phoenix was already up. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the
yeah.
Lakers were thinking then. Like,
It's
yeah, I
like
don't
when
I,
they
I don't
signed Malone and Gary Payton and all those
but
guys.
at least they made the finals.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they only won one game, but at least they made it there. They got swept in the first. They got swept in the first round. Granted, though, Kobe tore his Achilles, so he probably would have won him 2 games in that playoff series.
Yeah.
I would have gave him 2 games simply because of Kobe. And let's see. I mean, and then the Warriors. I remember that series vividly, only because me and the boys went on a vacay to Wisconsin Dells, and then and then our night or our day in the cottage or whatever we stayed at, we had the game playing. And dude, Steph Curry, like I was like, Steph Curry, really? He's going off like this. I
Yeah.
remember him going off in college, but I just never thought it would ever translate to the NBA like to that level. But
As a
then
lot
that
of people,
playoff,
including myself, thought.
but then that playoff series really changed my mind. It's like, holy crap, this and then Clay Thompson too. Like both of them were just going off that playoff series.
Right.
And dude, it was I didn't I didn't really think much of it at the time. It was just like, oh, what a nice emerging team. I just never thought it was the birth of a dynasty.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's you. Nobody thought, honestly. I mean, I remember
Out of
specifically
nowhere.
thinking like, oh, that this is they're playing really well. Steph's killing it. But they're not going to win a championship. I'm purely shooting threes essentially, and I mean, lo and behold, they did. Um, Man, what was it? Miami and Indiana go 7 games. That was an incredible series. The
The emergence
emergence
of
of
Indiana. Yep.
Paul George in Indiana.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Spurs sweep Memphis in Western Conference Finals, and then obviously the finals versus Miami Heat versus San Antonio.
Can I just
Obviously,
say,
we
can I just say though that that series, I know you're gonna mention the Ray Allen shot,
yeah,
but game one, Game one, people forget Tony Parker with the most clutchest fucking shot I've ever seen in my life. Dude was dribbling down the clock. They had the final shot. He loses the dribble, picks it up, throws it off glass, buzzer beater. They win game one. When I seen that, I thought San Antonio was like, all right, bro, they got the championship pedigree. They've been here before. They're playing. It was an essentially like a second time finals team or a third time finals team, whatever, how many times. But like, I just thought like the Heat went against a young Thunder team, but now they're going up against the Spurs. Like
Right.
to me they were a dynasty then. They won what like three titles in 7 years, three titles in five
Yeah,
years. So
that's a dynasty
somewhere
for
around that,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, somewhere around along those lines. So here I thought like after game one, it's like, nah, dude. I think the Heat don't have that championship mentality. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Because and then that's a lead into you for the Ray Allen jump shot.
I mean, James take the shot, rebound Bosch, out to Allen, bang, like that like I butchered it a little bit. I'm not Mike Breen, but dude, one of the most iconic shots in NBA history, probably the clutchest besides like Jordan's shot or something like that, but like even so, this is like a top 5 clutchest shot in NBA history.
Yeah.
It's etched into the brains of basketball fans everywhere. It probably haunts Spurs fans to this day, even though
they got
they
their
still
they got
won
their
another one.
they still got their sweet revenge in next year. But anyways,
Yeah,
I do see people like still like bring that up from time to time. Like when I go to the bar or like when I ask family members out here, it's like, hey, so how did you feel in 2013? And they just kind of give me this look. It's like, oh, we don't like to talk about that.
that's so funny.
Yeah,
Um,
but I do want to elaborate on that Ray Allen shot only because a lot of like sports people and just fans in general, like NBA fans, say, "Oh, Ray Allen saved LeBron's legacy." I mean, not really because he did his
yeah,
job. Like, okay, did Steve Kerr save Michael Jordan's legacy when he passed off the ball,
or John Paxson.
or John Paxson when he made the
Like
shot?
no,
Like, no, that's just your teammate doing his fucking job. Like,
right.
and
That's what
who
Ray
better?
Allen was there for.
And who better to take the shot than Ray Allen, the guy who practices that scenario on a daily basis?
Right. Yeah,
So
it's
like, yeah, I just
true.
don't like that whole notion that like, oh, he saved his legacy. Like, no, Ray Allen did his job. He made the shot that counted the most. The
Let's
reason why he
say
signed there.
let's say Ray doesn't hit that shot. Spurs go on to win the championship. LeBron would have been just fine. His legacy would have been just fine. He still would have broken
Right,
Kareem's record. He would still be a Hall of Famer, first ballot, obviously. He would still go on to win another championship at, whether it be, who knows, maybe they would have swapped titles, they would have won the next year or whatever, or
right,
he
right.
would still probably win when he goes back to Cleveland. Um, but on to 2013-14. We mentioned Dwight Howard getting traded to the Lakers. Well, guess what? He left the Lakers after one season and signs with James Harden and the Houston
Ooh.
Rockets. Talk about another failed super team.
You know,
Just
after that though, like after Dwight left, it really stained Kobe Bryant's reputation because
uh,
a lot of big time free agents didn't want to go to the Lakers after that whole after
mhm.
that season, just because it's like maybe they couldn't match Kobe's intensity, but it just looks bad on the free agent to not want to go like win with Kobe Bryant. It just looked
Right,
bad because it's like, oh, so all he does is drive people out of his team, which is not the case. He just wants to win, you know.
right. Yeah. Um, Also, Doc Rivers joins the Clippers.
He gets traded to the Clippers.
Oh, traded. That's right.
He got traded, which because I remember only because like, wait, coaches can get traded. That was the only reason why I remember this whole situation because he didn't want to rebuild with the Celtics, which fine, whatever. It is what it is. But then like he wanted to leave, but he was still under contract. So I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, how they gonna work this out? And then breaking news: Doc Rivers gets traded to the Clippers for a couple of conditional picks. I'm like, wait, coaches can get traded. I never knew that. I never knew that, and that was like the only like thing that really like carved in my head is like they coaches can get traded. And that's a nice little fact I learned.
Right. Honestly.
Speaking of traded, oof, what about that Brooklyn Nets Celtics
Oh
trade?
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Damn,
the
man.
Nets and Celtics make one of the most infamous trades in recent history, sending KG, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry to Brooklyn for Chris Kardashian. I mean, Chris Humphries, Gerald Wallace, Marshawn Brooks, and three future first round picks 2014, 16, and 18, which was it? I know Jaylen Brown became one of those picks. Was Tatum as well or no? I forget.
Let's see
Or was
here.
that Boston's own pick? I'm
I
trying to
think
remember.
Marcus Smart was Boston's own pick, the 2014. But I think they drafted a bust in the 2014 draft with that draft pick.
Oh,
'Cause it
did
was
they?
like because 2014 they still made the playoffs. Like they still finished 44 and 38. So they finished outside of the top 10, I believe.
Yeah.
But that I remember they drafted a bust because they started drafting the good players like literally a year later or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a lopsided trade in hindsight. Like
Yeah.
it looked good on paper until you read the ages of Paul Pierce, KG, and Jason Terry.
Right.
They definitely went on a win now trade, but overall, like they this trade set them back 5 years. Like they just got past it
Yeah.
after they just got past this bad era when they signed Kyrie and Kevin Durant, which is a whole nother fiasco until for part two. But we'll get there when we get there, or I mean, whatever part three, whenever we do a 2020s retrospective, you know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like that. Think about that from 29 until 2019 2020 season. That's when the Brooklyn Nets finally got over this bad trade they made in 2013.
Right.
Like that was literally that was a 6 year that set him back 6 years. Can you imagine if the Bulls were to pull a trade like that and it just sets us back like so many
Oh
years that
man.
like how can we ever recover from that? Like how as a fan can we ever go through this? That's why like as bad as the Bulls are right now, especially last season, it could be worse.
Oh yeah. You could.
It could be a whole lot worse. You could we could be winning 20 games and not have our own picks.
Yep.
Like I rather win 40 games and get a play in berth, knowing that like what does a first round pick matter? It's only gonna be what number 11, number like it's gonna finish outside of the top 10. What does it
Right.
matter then?
Yeah. So next up, Derrick Rose finally makes his long-awaited return, only to promptly tear his meniscus 11 games into the season versus the Portland Trailblazers.
He didn't look right even just starting out that season though. Like
Yeah.
our opening day game was against the Heat under ring night. He got absolutely brutalized that game. I think he shot a horrible percentage. He just didn't look right. Then the second game was the 76ers, and he fucking gets demolished by Michael Carter Williams. Derrick Rose getting torched by Michael Carter Williams. Once I saw that, it's like, man, is he that rusty or is it all in his head? You know,
Yeah.
like I just started like the ability was there because he had his bursts, he had his moments during that 11 game. Was it 11 games?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
during that
the
11 games stretch, he
Portland
looked
game was
good.
on the 11th game.
He looked good. Like he looked like he was him. He looked like he was himself for like those 11 games up until Portland. It's just man, I always thought it was all in his head. Like he just never really got past it. And no, and then Tibbs' style, it's like, nah, you're going in there. No, I want
Yeah.
you to give it 100%. Like
Right.
he didn't know what load management meant back then, which in hindsight, like had Derrick Rose been on like on a load management schedule, like how they did Zach the first month and a half of the season, I think Derrick Rose would have like he would have finished out the 2013 2014 season and probably got us past the Washington Wizards that season.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have happened.
Yep. Pain, pain, pain. It's a
More
reoccurring
pain,
theme for the Bulls.
knee
Uh
pain.
yeah. Kevin Durant won MVP and makes his famous "You're the real MVP" speech.
The
Kevin
meme.
Durant is obviously one of the best players of all time, deserved that MVP. The speech was a great speech just in general. I mean, it was an emotional speech. However, unfortunately it did become a meme. Now everybody still to this day, maybe with a few moans and groans, from the people they say it to, still make those jokes. You're the real MVP, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, it happened. Kevin Durant, applause to you. You're amazing. You won your MVP. Or should I say his mom won the MVP. But in the playoffs, Spurs and OKC, they met in the Western Conference Finals, but the Spurs ended up winning this series 4-2. And guess what? Miami plays against the Pacers again, beating them 4-2 as well. And we just touched on this a little bit ago, but it's a finals rematch with the Miami Heat and the Spurs, with the Spurs actually coming out on top and Kawhi Leonard winning the finals MVP.
Man, that's when I became a Kawhi fan, dude. Just
Right?
his defense on LeBron was just crazy. Because even though LeBron did put up like 20 or so points, he just looked like he had a hard time against Kawhi Leonard. I just loved his defense, loved his tenacity. But that whole entire Spurs team, bro, that was such beautiful basketball I've seen. Like that was the most beautiful basketball I've ever seen in my life. They just
Yeah.
every pass was crisp, every shot was wide open, and every three went in. Like it got so bad for the Heat to the point where Danny Green was up for Finals MVP. Like he was second behind or third behind Kawhi Leonard, I believe. Like
Yeah.
that's how efficient every Spurs player was. And hey, man, sweet revenge. That was sweet revenge because I never thought I'd ever see the Spurs lose in a finals. They lost in the finals. They come right back and just get their sweet revenge. And that was the last time they ever made the finals, which is going to be
Yeah.
10 years ago this season.
That's actually crazy to think about. I never thought about that. That's so
Mm-hmm.
wild. Oh my god. So on to the 2014-15 season. This is the final season that we'd be talking about. Um,
This off season grinds my gears, Mikey. Go ahead, go ahead. Sorry, lead in because
well, okay. So other Bulls fans, you might want to plug your ears a little bit. Julian, unfortunately, you cannot. But Pau Gasol signs with the Bulls. We were supposed to get
Pau
Carmelo
Gasol was the
Anthony,
consolation prize. Pau
but
Gasol was the
yeah, but
consolation.
Gasol was the consolation prize. Melo, who was very close to being a Bull, ended up choosing the money and going to the mediocre New York Knicks. Julian, just let it out.
Once we get to the playoffs, then you'll see why I'm having this rant. But Carmelo could have put us over the top. Maybe maybe a more creative front office would have made it work to where we would have gotten both Melo and Gasol. But we had Garpax, and we had Reinsdorf, who
Yeah,
couldn't make it work somehow. Like he couldn't finagle his way to be like, oh, we made a little bit of cap space to sign two max players. It's like, bro, you have a
yeah,
chance. You have a chance, especially what unfolded that season without Carmelo. Oh man, we needed him. We needed his scoring. We needed his clutch shooting. Like we were up 2-1 against Cleveland. Who do you think would have been the difference maker? Who do you think? Carmelo Anthony.
yeah.
Carmelo Anthony.
Big time.
Gasol wasn't even playing that playoff series. He got hurt. He got hurt or he played, but he had a bad hammy, I think, or bad hamstring or something, dude. He had something going on, but he was a non-factor. So
Yeah,
essentially, we wasted our money on Gasol, who was a non-factor that playoff series. Like the most the Bulls could have gave Melo was 64 million for like I think 3 years or 2 years or something like that. Which hindsight, yeah, that's way below his market value. But if he wanted to win, he would have came. But he
yeah,
doesn't. Guy's been like as much as I like Carmelo's play style and his skill set, the man just never wanted to win. Like he always never he wanted to stay in New York because he got paid his money in New York, obviously, and it's New York. Like who number one market in the NBA.
right.
If you're big in New York, you're gonna get paid, But at the
Yeah,
same time, it's like in Chicago. The house that Jordan built. You don't think winning a championship in Chicago would mean something? You beat
Oh yeah.
If you win a championship in Chicago, you are officially legendary. That '05 White Sox team, legendary. The 2016 Cubs team, legendary. The Bulls dynasty, legendary. The 1985 Bears, who they still talk about to this day. That's how fucking legendary they are.
The
You know,
Blackhawks.
the Blackhawks, their dynasty. Like, you are immortalized in Chicago if you win a championship here. And Carmelo did not want to. Man,
Yeah.
ah,
Right.
oh my god. All right, glad I can let it. Thank you for the
So
therapy session,
it's
folks.
yeah,
Let's
it's
move
that's
on.
what
Let's
we're
move
here
on to
for.
what. Let's move on to what else happened in that offseason. That draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers,
Oh boy.
second consecutive draft, draft lottery. They win the number one pick. Obviously, in 2013, they got Anthony Bennett, and now in 2014, they get Andrew Wiggins, which
Andrew Wiggins. Obviously drafted Andrew Wiggins, and then guess what? Ba-ba-da-ba!
he was
LeBron
traded,
comes back.
which
LeBron
was
comes back, and then yeah,
mind blown. Mind blown.
and then they end up trading Andrew Wiggins to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Love, which I mean, I feel like in hindsight that's a good trade. They got a chip out of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's such a rare thing to happen, a number one pick. I mean, but that's what happens when LeBron comes to your team. Like,
LeBron has that power. He,
yeah,
he controls the league. He controlled the league back then.
yeah,
A
but
move like that was seismic to where, like, all right, we're gonna get rid of our future to win now. You know?
right. And that's one of those instances where, like, I mean, it didn't screw them over that much. It's not like Wiggins is a good player, but it's not like he's the second coming of LeBron or whoever, whoever they said he was going to be. Like he's a good player, but it's like it didn't screw them over that much. Obviously we just said they won a championship in 16. So, but speaking of championships and thinking of did you are
No,
you hearing this
no.
right now?
What? Hearing what?
I have music playing on my computer.
No, I don't hear anything.
All right, hang on.
I'm looking. I was looking at your notes, and the one that got me was Kyle Korver is an all-star somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The whole starting five of the Atlanta Hawks are somehow all-stars.
Yeah, dude. Like, okay, Steph wins MVP. I kind of flip flopped it, but yeah, Kyle
Yep.
Korver is an all-star. Like, he had a great season. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say great, but he had a good season. Great for Kyle
I mean,
Korver
he
standards.
was on the best team in the conference. Was it the conference or the overall league?
I think it
Like,
was
where
the overall league. I
so
know
the
they were for
Atlanta,
sure
yeah,
the
no,
number one seed, but
yeah, Atlanta had like 62, 63 wins that season. I remember that.
yeah,
I remember that shit.
like, but I mean, as as a Bulls fan, I was super happy to see Corver be an All Star, but
Let's play what if with your T-shirt real quick.
yeah, okay,
Had the Bulls beat the Cavaliers in the second round. I do you wholeheartedly believe they would have taken the Atlanta Hawks in the conference finals?
yes, easily,
Thank you, because a lot of people were like, "Nah,
easily.
I think the Hawks would have made the finals had the Bulls if they would have played the
Oh,
Bulls." I'm like, "No, they wouldn't." Especially what the intensity Noah would have and Derrick Rose. No one damn well like this could be our chance to make the finals. Beat LeBron in the second round. We got a chance, dude. I think D Rose would have played MVP Derrick Rose for
yeah.
that
I
whole
mean,
rest of that run.
who is no the freaking the
He would have
Hawks
beat
were a fluke,
Yeah, yeah.
such
They would
a
have beat the
fluke.
Warriors. They would have beat the Warriors too. I'm gonna say it right now. They would have beat the Warriors.
The
Who?
Hawks?
No, the Bulls.
Oh, I was gonna
You think
say
you think you think Curry could guard D Rose?
no,
Do you think
no,
and then Butler was gonna shut down Klay Thompson, and then you would
right,
have had Noah and Draymond Green battling.
right.
Who? That would have been a.
I mean,
I'm
and
sorry. I'm
Lou,
going back to
and we had
and
Lou
then
still.
no, we didn't have Did we have no? He got traded. Remember the season prior?
Oh, was that the
He
season
got
he got
traded.
traded to?
He got traded for Andrew Bynum for salary cap.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot when exactly that was. That
Yeah,
sucked.
yeah. No, but we had my boy, the man, the legend, Michael Jeffrey Dunleavy.
Jeez, I knew you were gonna say
My
that.
boy.
The
But
he
that's what
made
I mean
five
though. Had
3-pointers
Melo,
for us all season, I guarantee you.
yeah, and then we couldn't get Melo, so let's get Michael Dunleavy.
The return of Michael.
Oh
Oh,
man,
Dunleavy. Sorry.
Dunleavy, Mike Dunleavy Jr.
Future Warriors GM.
He is a Warriors GM. He traded for Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Oh
Hey,
man. So, like you said, it was the Warriors and the Cavs in the finals. Which did you who did you realistically have winning that finals? Like, did you have LeBron and the Cavs winning, or did you because
I had the
like
Cavs.
you said earlier in the video, the Warriors just came out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere. And yeah, I had the Cavs winning. Only because LeBron single-handedly got him a 2-1 lead. And this was the first and probably the last time we'd ever see LeBron have to do everything. Like scoring, rebounding, and assists. Like
Wasn't
this
Kevin
is the
Love hurt
yeah, he got hurt in the first
versus
round.
Boston?
Olenek popped the shoulder.
Which is that is one of the most cheap shots ever.
Right. He was like he had his arm under
He,
him, and then he just like yanked him down. It's like,
yeah.
what are you doing, bro? And then
Brutal.
and then Kyrie got hurt game 1 of the finals.
Yeah.
He like dislocated his kneecap or some shit. Like something happened with his knee.
Jeez.
Right.
Ugh.
And the game 1 though, man, like I think even without Kevin Love, I think the Cavs would have beat the Warriors just with Kyrie and LeBron.
Yeah, I think so. I think they very well
Because
could have.
LeBron won him 2 games. I
Yeah.
think Kyrie would have at least got him one.
And before we sign off and everything, we do have to touch on Derrick Rose hitting his buzzer beater against the Cavs in round 2,
Let's end the
which
video on a happy note,
right, which was amazing. I remember running around my house. He's back. He's back. Oh my God, Derrick Rose. And then David Blatt should have gotten a technical foul the next game. And then LeBron ended up hitting the buzzer, tying the series instead of us going up 3-1. That was rigged. I hate everything. I know you said happy note, but I mean, look, when like I keep saying, when you're a Bulls fan, there are no happy endings unless you're stuck in the 90s. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. This has been an amazing video to prepare for. It's something that Julian and I obviously both are very passionate about, especially the 2010s. It's awesome to reminisce. It's also very painful. But regardless, we want to thank you guys so much for watching. And part 2 should probably be up sometime next week. But yeah, thank you again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, y'all.